President Biden has stated income tax rates are not going to go up for people earning less than $400,000 annually. Let's even take him at his word and say, okay, income tax rates are not going to go up if people are earning less than $400,000. Well, there's ways of raising taxes without raising income tax rates. What are a few examples of tax raises without raising the income tax rates? Well, the Secure Act, which we're going to touch on, is a massive income tax increase for IRA, 401k, 403b, SEP, KEO, etc. owners or participants, or by the way, TIAA participants or TICREF participants. And I think Erica mentioned it, but boy, if you have a college professor or a TIAA participant friend, or perhaps you are one, we have an unbelievable bonus that will be that will be available for those at the end. And by the way, even if you are not, it is our latest and greatest book, which I think would be a great resource for anybody. But anyway, back to tax increases. So we have the Secure Act, massive income tax increase. All right. So remember when they said, okay, we're going to limit the amount of money that you can deduct on your itemized deductions for taxes, and people who were paying a lot of taxes, maybe real estate taxes, or maybe you're in a high income tax state like California or New York, and you have these massive income taxes at the state level or the local level, or real estate taxes, and you used to deduct those taxes, and that really reduced your federal estate tax burden. Well, boom, you were limited to $10,000. And it's like, that was a massive income tax increase without increasing the tax rates. So there are examples of tax raises without raising the income tax rates. What are some other ones that are potentially coming up? Well, we have the step up in basis, which I unfortunately don't have enough time to go through, but that will be a major tax increase. I personally believe it is a matter of not if they are going to eliminate the step up in basis, but a question of when. And if it was my guess is that is going to happen. That is that income tax rate will become part of the law before you and or your spouse die. So this is a very relevant income tax rates. The other tax rate that is, to me, almost inevitable is a decrease in the estate tax exclusion. In other words, we're not going to be able to leave as much money to our heirs without escaping federal transfer tax, which is, let's say, a better way of looking at gift taxes or estate taxes, because it is a tax on the transfer of money. I think tax raises are going up in that area. My clicker seems to be stuck here. There we go. The capital gains treatment. Right now, we have very favorable taxable gains treatment. That could easily go away. In fact, if President Biden has it his way, that would be going away very soon. Of course, it is conjecture what President Biden and the new Congress can get through in the, let's say, next couple years, if in terms of legislation. And you can say, well, this is coming, that is coming. Well, we're not sure. We don't know what the Senate's going to do, et cetera, et cetera. But this is what we do know. We have the sunset provisions of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. And what basically happened in the year 2017, when President Trump was president, and he and the existing Senate and Congress was able to pass a very significant tax decrease. But in order to get that passed and to comply with the law at the time, it had to be a temporary tax decrease, and then have the higher taxes revert to where they were at some time in the future. Well, that sometime in the future is practically upon us. It's in the year 2026. And basically what that tax law said, and we call it the sunset provisions, is that whatever the tax rates were in 2017, and by the way, you add inflation to that, but whatever the tax rates were in 2017, they are going to be the new tax rates in the year 2026. So even if no tax legislation is passed, even if Congress does nothing, we're going to have this enormous tax increase in the year 2026. Well, how bad is it going to be? It's going to be bad. All right, so what you should be seeing in front of you is a slide that shows the tax rates in 2017 and 2021. And let's focus on the number in the 2021 tax rates of $329,850. So if your income is between $172,000 to $329,850, that portion of income would be taxed at 24%. And you might be saying, hey, Jim, but, why is that relevant to me? My income is closer to $100,000. Well, if you think about it, let's say that your income without doing any Roth IRA conversions is $100,000. All right. If you make a $229,850 Roth IRA conversion, a portion of that Roth IRA conversion will be taxed at 22%. And then the portion between $172,751 and $329,850 will be taxed at 24%. Okay, so just keep in mind, let's call it, to oversimplify, the top of the 24% bracket will be $329,000. All right, now, if what I fear is going to happen, which is tax rates are going to go up in 2026, even if Congress doesn't pass anything before that, which, by the way, they very well might, that tax rate, instead of being at 24%, will be at 33%, because if you go back to the 2017 rates and you see $233,351 to $416,700, you're in the 33% bracket. So let's just say, for discussion's sake, that you make some Roth IRA conversions in the 22 and the 24% bracket. And then later on, when the tax rates go up to the 33% bracket, you're sitting there with all these tax-free Roth IRAs. Your family, again, is going to be tens, hundreds of thousands, potentially more than $1 million better off. So this is not a little thing. This is a big thing. All right, so let's do a few basic principles for IRA and retirement plan owners. And if you've been following me, you've heard this. I hate to say it, but you've been hearing this for 20 years. Don't pay taxes now, pay taxes later, except for the Roth IRA and Roth IRA conversions. And this mantra, if you will, this bedrock foundation, this foundation stone of tax planning, applies in the accumulation stage. It applies in the distribution stage. It applies even when you are planning for your estate. In the accumulation stage, it would say, and again, subject to exceptions for all these things, you should put money in Roth IRAs before you should put money in traditional IRAs. All right. In the distribution stage, it would say it will often make sense to do a series of Roth IRA conversions where you're paying taxes later, except for the Roth. So maybe consider some Roth IRA conversions, and don't pay taxes now, pay taxes later. Even applies after you are gone. I want your heirs to not pay taxes now, pay taxes later, again, except for Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions. Now, I've been saying this all along, but there is let's say, a new wrinkle that brings up an exception to our mantra. It might make sense, like I had mentioned earlier, to go from the taxable environment to the tax-free environment. Okay, now again, that's Roth IRAs, but I also brought up the possibility of going from the taxable environment, traditional IRA, to the tax-free environment by going outside of your estate. And as a refresher, taking an IRA, or most likely a portion of it, paying income taxes on it now, then taking the proceeds after you're done paying the taxes on it, and then using that money to invest in a tax-free environment, income tax-free environment, such as a 529 plan, which grows tax-free, assuming the distributions for education purposes. It will be a tax-free environment if that money is used, for example, for life insurance or for your children's or grandchildren's Roth IRA or Roth 401k, etc. So we do have an exception. And I did say, don't pay taxes now, pay taxes later, except for the Roth. So we are going to get into some of the nitty gritty of Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions. And we have all kinds of numbers because we've run numbers out the wazoo on Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions, and including publishing in peer-reviewed journals that Roth IRA conversions make sense for, if not probably most of our viewers at some point in their lives, even if income tax rates were steady. Well, and that also made sense before the Secure Act. Well, after the Secure Act and in times of rising tax rates, it really makes sense, more so than ever. So what am I talking about this